The biggest question mark, you can say, surrounding this team and their Super Bowl hopes was Jalen Hurts. The offensive line was incredible. The weapons that he had on the outside and the running back position obviously was incredible. Their defense was arguably the best defense in football. The only question mark was Jalen Hurts. And rightfully so. Jalen Hurts, there are games when Jalen Hurts doesn't look up to snuff. There are games when he looks like the best player in football. But you just don't know what you're going to get with Jalen Hurts. Well, and I will say this. One of the criticisms with Jalen Hurts always goes back, and I've been I've been guilty of this. When you talk about Jalen Hurts, you want to go all the way back to college when he got benched for Tua, even though that he doesn't have a national championship. He got benched for Tua, then he goes to Oklahoma, has a pretty good season, has a Heisman caliber season, even though he didn't win, but still. I want to congratulate and shout out Jalen Hurts. I think RG3 said it. Going into the game, he said that if Jalen Hurts wins this game, it puts him on a level above, Josh Allen, above Lamar Jackson, above. He essentially was saying that if Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback in the league. I wholeheartedly don't agree. But I will give Jalen Hurts his flowers. We always say that to beat the king, or to be the king, you have to beat the king. Hell, Josh Allen said that after they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the second time in the Super Bowl where Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Now, yes, this is also the second time where Jalen Hurts had an incredible defense, and obviously Jalen Hurts isn't on the field the same time Patrick Mahomes is. But this is the second time where Jalen Hurts was arguably the best player on the field in a Super Bowl. And if you remember the first Super Bowl, two plays ended the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts fumble that was recovered for a touchdown, and the pass interference at the end of the game on James Bradbury. If those two plays went differently, we may be talking about a two-time Super Bowl champion. Jalen Hurts doesn't have and isn't one of those quarterbacks that have eye-popping numbers. Even this game, 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those aren't eye-popping numbers. But he made big play when he needed to make big plays. And when he rushed for 72 yards. When a play needed to be made, he 9 times out of 10 made it. Which is why he won the Super Bowl MVP, rightfully so. Saquon Barkley had a good game, but he only had 57 rushing yards. The Kansas City Chiefs did a great job bottling up Saquon Barkley, which led to Jalen Hurts having to be big in big moments. There's a lot of criticism on Jalen Hurts because he does a lot of things good, but he may not do it better than somebody else. Meaning, he's a mobile quarterback, but he's not better than, let's say, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen when it comes to mobility. He's a good passer of the football, but he's not better than Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes in that sense. He's really good at the line of scrimmage, but he's not better than Justin Fields. No, Justin Herbert as far as line of scrimmage, reading the line of scrimmage, or let's say Jared Goff is pretty good at reading the line of scrimmage. Maybe he's not. But what I'm saying is this. Jalen Hurts, there's a lot of criticism that's on Jalen Hurts because he's good, exceptional at a lot of things. But there are people that are better than him at those things. So there's a lot of scrutiny. On top of that, he also has a Super Bowl loss on his belt. And his leadership was in question the year after they went to the Super Bowl, where they lost like 10 or 11 straight games. Even with all that, this is now the second Super Bowl in a row for Jalen Hurts where he was the best player on the field offensively. Because you can talk, I think if you can give the Super Bowl MVP to a unit, I'd give it to the defensive unit, especially the defensive line. But Jalen Hurts he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And like they said, to be the king, you have to beat the king. And C.J. Stroud wasn't able to outplay Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen wasn't able to outplay Patrick Mahomes. This is the second time in the playoffs that Jalen Hurts faced off against Patrick Mahomes and outplayed him. The first time, 2 plays dictated. This time, left no doubt. It was a complete team win. There were a couple moments in this game where it was clear that these are two different. This year's Kansas City Chiefs and this year's Philadelphia Eagles are in 2 different classes. I could say one was, I believe it was the second interception that Patrick Mahomes threw. He was in his own end zone, and the reason why he threw it outside of it being, inaccurate was because the defensive lineman, I don't remember which one it was, but the defensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles pushed Joe Thuney, who is widely regarded as the MVP for their season. I think that he was named the MVP for the Kansas City Chiefs season. He pushed Joe Thuney so far up that Joe Thuney pushed Joe Thuney into Patrick Mahomes, which caused him to throw an inaccurate pass, which was essentially intercepted by Zach Bond. That was the one play. That was one of the plays where I was like, oh yeah, this is a different caliber. You're playing against, there's a different level. I don't think, even though you can always say, we have to prepare for this. We have to prepare for that. We have to get ready for this. We have to get ready for that. But you never know exactly that feeling until it happens. Meaning you can say, we have to prepare for Tyreek Hill's speed. Or a really good one is, we have to prepare for the cold. That's one of the superpowers that the Buffalo Bills have come to playoff time, or the Kansas City Chiefs have usually come to playoff time, because they're in cold environments. They want to get home field advantage so that you have to go to them. That's why Miami, every single time in the playoffs, if they don't have home field advantage, 9 times out of 10 they lose. Actually, 10 times out of 10 they lose. You can say we need to prepare for the weather, and we're trying to mentally, physically prepare ourselves. But there's no preparing for 18-degree weather, but the wind chill feels like -3. There is no preparing for that unless you're in it. All we heard all week was the Kansas City Chiefs have to prepare for the physicality that the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line is going to bring. if you don't have anybody in that building, and obviously you have walkthroughs, so you're not going to run hard, you're not going to practice hard. There is no preparing for physicality like that if you're not already doing that, which you're not, because that makes no sense to do that before the Super Bowl. So that was one play where I don't remember the defensive player. I apologize, but he pushed Joe Thuney into Patrick Mahomes, which caused a Zach Bond interception. And then I believe it was 24-0. And they were like, all right, I think the broadcasters, Tom Brady, and I forgot the other dude's name. I forgot, but I apologize. But they were saying, all right, you're already up big. Let's just run the ball, run the clock. And let's just get, that's what they thought the Eagles were going to do. And that probably would have been the smartest thing to do. Jalen Hurts drops back, which was shocking to Tom Brady. He drops back and throws a dime touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts wasn't touched. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't hurried up. And Devontae Smith was wide open. It just showed that we're looking at two. While yes, shouts out to the Kansas City Chiefs for everything they've done. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls in 5 years now, or 3 Super Bowls in 5 trips. But this year, we looked at 2 teams that are on 2 completely different levels. And while no, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs played to the best of their ability, I think a lot of that was because they played against a team that was an unmovable object and an unstoppable force that day. Again, shouts out to this Super Bowl, the second Super Bowl in Philadelphia Eagles franchise history, was built throughout the whole regular season. Habits, a lot of scrutiny when we talk about Nick Sirianni going against fans, and some of the antics that we saw. Well, yeah, they were still winning. And you can hate how Nick Sirianni does things. You can say he's not a good coach. You would be lying to yourself, because this is the second Super Bowl Nick Sirianni's been to in, 4 years? And I think he has one of the highest winning percentage as a coach in NFL history. Oh. It was a complete dominant win. And the last thing I'm going to say before I go to my winners and losers of the NFL season, I previewed it a little bit earlier when I said that games like these change how we perceive things. Maybe not as much as the outcome, more so than how we got to the outcome. Jalen Hurts has always been a fringe, let's say, top 10 quarterback. When they give the quarterback ranks, Jalen Hurts is very rare that you hear him closer to 1 than 10. I still don't think he's better than, let's say, the big 4. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I don't think that. But outside of those 4, I don't see, Yes, Jaden Daniels had an incredible season. Yes, CJ Stroud got his team to the playoffs again. Even though he had a terrible playoff game, Justin Herbert got himself to the playoffs again. But I can't say that CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, not Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, as great as he was this year, even Jalen Hurts, even Jaden Daniels, I can't say that they're better than Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts has cemented himself as a top 5 quarterback this year. Jared Goff had a great year. I still think Jalen Hurts, he's a Super Bowl champion now. Super Bowl MVP at that point. At that. Sam Darnold had a great year till he didn't. I think the way that we talk about Jalen Hurts has to change. He's a national champion, Super Bowl winner, and a Super Bowl MVP. And mind you, this is his second Super Bowl in I think 4 seasons. The way that we talk, and he dethroned a quote unquote dynasty. I don't know how this team is going to fare next year. Yeah, a lot of their key pieces are on contract, but as we know, the people that aren't, once you win a Super Bowl, once you do something like this, you have to strike when the iron's hot. They want to get paid, and rightfully so. And there are a lot of, like Zach Bond, I keep talking about him because I believe that he was a clear-cut MVP for this team this year. He's I think a free agent. What are they going to do with him? A lot of their defense are free agents. So I don't know A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith contract situation, but I think they're up soon. So obviously that's the biggest challenge with Super Bowl caliber teams, especially when a lot of their good players are on 1-year deals. What are they going to do? But I will say this. There has to be a little bit more respect put on Jalen Hurts' name when we talk about the top tier and pantheon of quarterbacks in the NFL. Again, I understand, but they it's funny when they talk about rankings and everything, and then you throw in Super Bowls. They always it's interesting how they talk about it, right? Because they'll say, "Oh no, the Super Bowl is a team sport or a team accolade." When we talk about Patrick Mahomes, when we talk about Jalen Hurts, or we talk about someone like who else has Matthew Stafford, and they say, "Well, we can't add on to the Super Bowl because it's a team aspect." But when we talk about Patrick Mahomes, when we talk about Lamar Jackson not getting to one, when we talk to Josh Allen not getting to one, when we talk to Joe Burrow losing one, then it's, but they don't have a Super Bowl. It's fickle. But I do think the way that we talk about Jalen Hurts has to change. And I also think the way that we talk about Patrick Mahomes has to change. Hear me out. I have been seated comfortably on the Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT bandwagon. From the success that he's seen this early in his career, it was very hard for me to, even though I'm not taking away from anything that Tom Brady has done in his entire career, but the success that Patrick Mahomes has seen early on in his career, it's hard for me to look at what he's done or what he was doing and say that, while yes, 7 Super Bowls is incredible, but look at Patrick Mahomes is better. That's what I was solely on that train. And I also thought that doing something that no other NFL team has ever done, would have been the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, if you will, as far as my argument to why Patrick Mahomes is essentially the GOAT. And it's not only the fact that they didn't complete the three-peat. And don't get me wrong, obviously someone that's never three-peated outside of 2K or Madden, I'm sure that it's incredibly difficult. So, I'm not necessarily taking anything away from anyone, but a lot of it was because of the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me say that first. But this was by far the worst game I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes play. By far. He looked rattled. He did. I mean, obviously that was offensive line as well, but he didn't have much time. He was inaccurate. He missed some easy chippy throws. And as much praise as he has deserved in his career, he deserves some criticism right now. Patrick Mahomes played the worst game I have ever seen him play. And it was just unfortunate that it was in the Super Bowl with the ability to three-peat that was squandered. Yes. Travis Kelce didn't help him at all. Yes, most of Xavier Worthy had a good game, but DeAndre Hopkins didn't help. Juju didn't help. That offensive line was the MVP of the game as to why they lost. But I think that conversation now, the Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT conversation, has to stop. And this is someone that there were times when I was driving the bus. He's not better than Tom Brady. Because I will say like this. We've seen Tom Brady have bad games. We've seen it. I don't think Tom Brady has ever played as bad in the Super Bowl as Patrick Mahomes played this Super Bowl. Now, mind you, he's lost 3 Super Bowls. Remember that. And 2 of them was to the Giants. But at least for now, that whole Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT conversation has to cease, or at least be put on the shelf. Again, games like this, I'm not taking away from anything that Patrick Mahomes has done, but there are ramifications for how you play in games like this. Hell, they kill Josh Allen, they kill Lamar Jackson all the time, and they haven't even got to the Super Bowl. And quiet as it's kept, outside of maybe the first or second year, now I understand that one is a Super Bowl and one is, just a divisional or wild card game, but as bad as Patrick Mahomes played in the Super Bowl, I think that if you compare to what Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, their worst playoff games, I think Patrick Mahomes is the worst. Now, again, for all the people that's killing me in the comment, I get it. One is in the Super Bowl, 2 are not. But when you look at when you put up their worst games in the playoffs, I don't think that Lamar Jackson has ever played this bad in the playoffs. Neither has Josh Allen. Understand 2 of them have not made a Super Bowl yet. I get that. And I'm not just throwing away Patrick Mahomes. But what I'm saying is we have to really slow down on that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT talk. Let me say again, congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. Much congratulations to you. Oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.